In 1994, Colombia's World Cup aspirations were crushed by a single man's tragic error. An own goal by Andrés Escobar shattered the nation and eventually led to his demise. Obvious suspicions of links to cartels in his unfortunate fate captured the entire country's focus. Keep watching as we revisit the sequence of events that led to the demise of a soccer icon. Andrés Escobar, the captain and esteemed figure in Colombian football, met a tragic fate on July 2, 1994, mere days following his national team's early exit from the 1994 World Cup. At the age of 27, Andrés, known as El Caballero del Fútbol, the gentleman of soccer, had earlier addressed his nation with a hopeful yet naive tone. However, he failed to acknowledge the prevailing anger and violence engulfing his country, a crisis largely attributed to another Escobar, Pablo Escobar, the infamous drug lord. Pablo Escobar's influence extended far beyond the realms of narcotics trafficking, deeply affecting Colombian society and even football. This backdrop set the scene for Andrés Escobar's tragic demise. His murder was a culmination of narco-terrorism, money laundering via football, and illicit betting, creating a chilling and sorrowful chapter in World Cup history. Andrés epitomized the fusion of class and skill, mirroring his philosophy that football was a school of life. He was on the verge of joining Europe's imminent AC Milan after the World Cup, yet, just before this promising chapter, he was presented with the opportunity to secure his nation's most coveted football prize. Amidst their journey to the 1994 World Cup, Colombia showcased an astonishing record, losing just 1 out of 26 matches. Notably, a resounding 5-0 victory against Argentina in Buenos Aires drew praise even from the rival fans. However, while the Colombian football team soared, their nation faced troubling times. The potential harbored in the football squad sharply contrasted with Colombia's broader trajectory. A key influence in the nation's decline was Pablo Escobar, the mastermind behind the multi-billion-dollar Medellin drug cartel. Through his ownership of Atlético Nacional, a Medellin-based football club, Escobar ingeniously launched drug proceeds via ticket sales and match revenues, which were often in cash. This illicit practice soon spread, infusing Colombian football with tainted funds, symbolizing a disturbing convergence of criminal money and the beautiful game. In the 1980s, during a significant period, Andrés Escobar was actively involved with Pablo Escobar's Nacional football team. His contribution to the team's victory in the 1989 Copa Libertadores was remarkable. It's worth noting that Pablo Escobar, the infamous drug lord, frequently hosted the nation's top football talents, even during his imprisonment in Cathedral Prison on the outskirts of Medellin. Despite Andrés Escobar's reluctance, he also visited the kingpin. Fortunately, these visits that Andrés felt obligated to make were cut short due to the intervention of a group of vigilantes known as the Pipes, who were opposed to Pablo Escobar. They assassinated the drug lord on December 2, 1993. With the influential and dangerous criminal figure out of the equation, many anticipated brighter days for Colombia. However, Pablo Escobar's demise set off a massive and detrimental chain reaction affecting various aspects of the country, notably football. The city plunged into chaos upon Pablo's death, as his authoritative presence gave way to a vacuum of leadership. The subsequent 198 days were marked by disorder and nationwide turmoil. Following Pablo Escobar's killing, the Colombian national football team participated in the 1994 World Cup, held at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California. The tournament didn't unfold as expected, and an unforeseen event took place. A pivotal moment arrived when Romania scored 2 goals in 35 minutes. They battled back and forth, but ultimately lost the game. Back in Colombia, gamblers who had invested heavily in the Colombian team reacted angrily to the loss, leading to threatening messages displayed on the players' hotel room TVs. The criminal club owners responsible for these threats sought to control the spotlight during this global event. Despite these challenges, Andres provided support and motivation. He reminded his teammate, Luis Herrera, of their responsibility to the country. This encouragement paved the way for their participation in the tournament. In the midst of these circumstances, Colombia's football team played valiantly, aware that they were playing for more than just the tournament. However, a fateful moment occurred during the match against USA, when Andres' own goal led to their defeat. Ultimately, the own goal symbolized a turning point in Colombia, where things took a dark turn. Following the 1994 World Cup, Andres returned to Colombia instead of visiting relatives in Las Vegas, Nevada. On the evening of July 1, 1994, just 5 days after Colombia's exit from the World Cup, Andres contracted his friends, and they gathered at a bar in Medellin's El Poblado neighborhood. Subsequently, they proceeded to a liquor store and then arrived at the El Indio nightclub. At around 3 a.m. the following morning, Andres was alone in his car in the El Indio parking lot when 3 individuals confronted him. 2 of these individuals produced handguns, ultimately shooting Andres 6 times with a .38 caliber pistol. Allegedly, one of the assailants exclaimed "Goal" after each shot. The group departed in a Toyota pickup, leaving Escobar wounded and bleeding. He was rushed to the hospital, but sadly succumbed to his injuries 45 minutes later. Humberto Castro Muñoz, affiliated with the cartel, was apprehended on July 2, 1994, and admitted the following day to the murder of Andres. Castro, who also worked as a driver for Santiago Gayon, who was linked to heavy betting on a particular game's outcome. He was later convicted of Andres' murder in June 1995 and handed a 43-year prison sentence. There are allegations that the Gayon brothers influenced the prosecutor's office to shift the investigation's focus onto Castro as the triggerman. Conversely, the prosecutor's office argues that Castro was simply acting on orders from the Gayon brothers. However, the lack of substantial evidence prevented the prosecution of the Gayon brothers. Andres Escobar's girlfriend, Pamela Cascardo, maintains that the Gayon brothers' purported bribery of government officials is supported by Castro's relatively short 11-year prison term despite killing a prominent national figure. In 2013, then-coach Francisco Maturana refuted any link between Escobar's murder and football or the World Cup. He asserted that Escobar's tragic fate was a result of being in the wrong place at the wrong time during a tumultuous period in Colombia's history. Do you believe the narco-terrorism connection played a significant role in the tragic death of Andres Escobar? Let's know your thoughts in the comments below.